Good morning. I have some stuff that needs to be done out on the deck this morning, so I figured I'd just chatter at you for a while. I don't know whether this will go up or not, but we shall see. Anyway, I I've said many times that this is a learning experience, and I am learning a lot from the idea and the reality of having 3 acres. I had at my old house, I had just a hair over a third of an acre, or just a hair under a third of an acre. It was 0.29 or 0.3 or something. So I had just under a third of an acre, and I wanted something larger because I know that a third of an acre is not anywhere near enough to provide food or even just vegetables for one person. I was at the time taking care of my dad, and so it was like, okay, 1, 2 people, 3 people. Before that it was dad and mom. So I had this image in my head of the size of property that I wanted and what I wanted on the property and so on. And so when I started looking for property out here, I was thinking 3 to 5 acres. I figured that 5 acres would be about as much as I could handle on my own, because chances are very good that I will be handling it on my own for the rest of my life. So I had this image in my head of what 5 acres was, or even 3 acres. I had this image in my head of what 3 acres was. And so when I got out here and I started looking for property, I started thinking, okay, 3 to 5 acres. But I was looking to more in the 5 to 10 range, just because, my brain says more is better. That's, a human brain does that. It tends to do weird things like that. So I had this image in my head of what 3 to 5 acres was, what it meant. And it was based, of course, on my own experience, which everything is. It's always based on your experience. If you don't have experience with mowing a lawn, you're going to have a different image of what it means to mow a lawn than the reality. If you don't have experience with raising a child, you're going to have a different image of what it means to raise a child than someone who has one. And yes, I understand there are limits to that, because I grew up in a family with 9 kids. And yes, I have a very good idea of what it means to take care of a child. I have that experience. But someone who does not have that experience is going to say, oh, I want 12 kids, and they're not going to understand the work and the responsibility that goes along with that. So I had this image, I keep saying that, using that same phrase, I had this image in my head of what 3 to 5 acres was. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to put you on hold for a minute because I need to go get more paper towels. Hold on. Okay, so I came out here and I looked for property, and I bought this property, which is 3.5 acres. And it's oddly shaped, which is why I was able to get it for a price that I could afford. But 3.5 acres, oh my. And my brain said, it's not big enough. You're gonna have to go for, you're gonna have to get more property. You're gonna have to, because my goal, of course, is to take care of myself, food-wise, to the extent that I can, and I think I can do quite a bit. But the goal, that's the goal, is to take care of my food needs from this property. Well, I got out here and I started working, and I started putting in trees, and I started putting in bushes, and I started planning, and my brain went, you're going to have to stop here. You're going to have to back up. And this is my logical brain, of course. My child brain was going absolutely nuts with everything that I was planning on doing with this property. And so my logical brain kicked in after I bought the property and said, this is a lot more than you thought it was. And of course my child brain goes, no, 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 I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it myself. Typical 2-year-old stuff. And so there was a disconnect between what I thought 3 acres would be and what it actually was. It's much larger than I had imaged it in my head. I had imaged an area slightly larger than what I had at my old house. Well, I need to go get the hose again. Actually, no, I need to get the broom. Just a second. So, like I said, I had this image in my head, and my plan was to get the 3 acres planted and all set up. Yippee, yippee, skippy, this is going to be so fun in 2 years. And I figured that I could get basic trees in, I could get the water catchment in, I could get the water control, all of the earthworks, get all of that in within a year. So it's almost been a year. And while I have accomplished a lot, I have not accomplished that. And part of the reason is that I had no idea how big 3 acres actually was. It's overwhelming when you come from an urban environment where everybody is on lots that are between 1/10 and 1/4 of an acre. It is overwhelming to look at a property this size, which is, let's see, 3 acres, so 9 times, a property 9 times the size of the one that I had before. And I've said many times that this is all learning experiment. It's all, it's all a test. I'm not, so that one's going to have to be set aside and rewashed. It's all a test, and I'm learning so much. Well, again, learning experiences. I looked at the mower, or I looked at the area, and I was like, okay, I can get all of it planted. I can get everything done in a year. Okay, so last winter I built the first greenhouse, and I started spreading out the wood chips, and the wood chips are taking much longer than I expected. But that's, I mean, again, it's a matter of scale. I've personally worked with anywhere between 5 and 10 yards, sometimes as much as 20, of wood chips. And I'm probably looking at 150 yards of wood chips out there. So, a matter of scale, my brain says, this is big. This is much bigger than I expected. And it goes for just about everything. It goes for the chickens, it goes for the house, it goes for the greenhouse, it goes for the wood chips, and then this spring, I'm looking around and, oh, it's so nice, blah, 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 blah. And then the grass started growing. And, you know, I wasn't planning on getting a mower because I was going to have this whole thing planted. Well, again, it's a matter of scale. My plan was way out of bounds for what is actually physically possible for me. So I decided, okay, I'm going to split it up. I'm going to do it in areas. I'll take the main gardens first and get the main garden taken care of, and then work on the rest a little bit at a time. Okay, so that kind of puts the whole thing into a manageable manageable build. So the areas where I'm going to need most of the earthworks are outside of the main garden. Okay. I've got a few trees in that seem to be doing okay. They're not thriving, but I'm letting them do their own thing. I'm letting them grow on their own at their own rate. So, I've got bits and pieces done here and there, and while I'm working on the main garden, because the main garden, of course, is going to be the main food production area. So the grass started to grow, and it was growing in the garden, and it was growing. I mean, the whole area, the whole 3 acres is grass, and it suddenly occurred to me that I'm going to need a mower. A while back, my rooster is obstreperous. He is not cooperating, or was not at the time cooperating. And I think I figured out what the problem is, and he hasn't attacked me for quite some time. But he was attacking me, and it got to the point where I did not want to go outside because I let them free range. I got to the point where I did not want to go outside because I was afraid that the rooster would attack me. Well, it's the same thing with the grass. I was limiting myself just to this area immediately around the house, the area that I was in control of, because the grass was so tall and there were bugs in the grass and they were getting, they were biting me, the chiggers and I don't know what all. I don't think I got any ticks, but anyway. I was limiting myself pretty much to just the area around the house. I wasn't using the clothesline anymore. I wasn't, going. I was going diverting around the majority of the grass, and I realized that again, I was in a situation where I was being held captive by something that was outside of my control. So I got a mower. And I'm sure that this process, I'm dead certain that this process will continue, and there will continue to be learning experiences, and there will continue to be things where I did not realize that something was as big as it was. Okay, that's fine. We'll just deal with it when it comes. But with the mower, I'm going to turn this around so you can see the chickies. Oops. 2. Yeah. Oh. Let's do... Okay. Anyway, I've just got a few minutes left on this, so I need to finish this up. So I got the mower, and it didn't work exactly the way I wanted it to, and I had to take it in, or I had to have someone fix it, and then I got it back, and I was working on mowing, and because the grass had been growing all year, again, learning experiences, I realized that I had to mow a tiny bit at a time because the blades were binding up because the grass was so long. So I'm mowing a little bit at a time, and the blades kept jamming, and I was thinking that, okay, the blades are jamming, and it starts smoking, and I turn the mower off and let it cool down, whatever. But there's something else wrong. So I got it up a little bit where I could see under the mower. And of course, I turned it off. I'm safe that way. I got up where I could see under the mower, and it looked fine. And then I started cleaning off, and I realized that the grass, and this was, again, a learning experience, something that I had not realized was an issue with a riding lawnmower, was the grass was actually jamming, the grass on top was actually jamming the motor. So that was my solution. I cleaned it out. It works perfectly now. But again, learning experiences, taking things a little bit at a time and figuring out what the problem is. And it's going to be, this whole thing is going to be an adventure and an experience. And it's going to be, it's something I'm looking forward to. I will talk with you later.